And now, Connect with KB.
Hi, everybody. This is Kristin Beltzer, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Connect with KB. My guest today is getting people back to the gym and preparing them to be mentally and physically fit as we prepare for a long winter. I want to welcome to the podcast Scott Abramouski, CEO and owner of M43 Fitness. Thanks for joining me, Scott. I'm so glad.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Tell me the Scott Abramouski story.
Yeah, so I was always that skinny, self-confident kid, and my brother started working out with his friends, and I always thought it was kind of goofy. And once kind of sports were a big component in my life, when I started working out, I realized I started feeling better, looking better, kind of gained that confidence that I needed. Obviously, it helped me accelerate, my performance on the field. And then I went to Michigan State University. I was a kinesiology major, so obviously it was something that, that those days, curling in my brother's room obviously took off from there. And when I went through there, I loved taking all the classes. And then I did a internship at State of Fitness with Justin Grinnell.
Oh, yeah.
And I owe Justin everything. And, I was there, I did an internship for about a year, and then I worked there, I believe it was about 4 years. And the experiences that I had there and the people that I met were a huge foundation of where I am today, most definitely. After that, I kind of knew that I wanted to open up my own facility. I kind of have that entrepreneur mindset. So I always have a journal with me, and I kind of take notes on what I think would do well and maybe what I would do differently than some other people in the industry. And some of the guys that I've trained and women that I've trained, a huge thing that I've done is always listen to everyone around me. I always joke that some of the clients that I have, I should be paying them instead of them paying me for their advice.
I love that, yeah.
Everyone always thinks it and sees people kind of at their end goal when it comes to like owning a business or their career. And, everyone started at some point, right? Everyone got help from somebody else. So I think once you show them that you're, a respectful individual and you work hard and whatnot, they're willing to kind of be an open book for you as well.
Yep.
So about 2.5 years ago, kind of fast forward, I'm friends with Adam Goss and Bill Huffenegger over there at Dart Bank, and they were crazy enough or smart enough to kind of accept my business plan that I detailed for them. And that kind of Lansing location kind of took off like a rocket ship. And February of this past year is when we closed our loan with Case Credit Union for our second location in DeWitt. So it's been a whirlwind, but I think everything happened for a reason. And it's definitely where made me where I am today. Well,
I had an opportunity to drive by your Grand River facility this morning on the way down to the studio, and the gyms are back open. And yes. I want you to talk a little bit about, how has the last 6 months been for you as you had to patiently wait for them to open and your clientele? So
I remember specifically that day in March, I think it was March 15th, when my wife and I, got the news that we needed to shut down, and we put just a little sticky note on the door. We didn't think it would be something permanent. I think everyone thought it would be a shorter duration than it was. But, in the fitness industry in Michigan, it's been obviously very tough. There was a lot of ups and downs. There was a lot of times I got the gym ready to go. I got all the cleaning equipment and everything else that I needed to kind of take it to the next level of what I foresee happening. And a lot of stress. The nice thing is our gym, we kind of have a model where we have our own app, actually. It's M43 Fitness app. So the nice thing is where a lot of gyms had to pivot, I think we were already kind of set up for a situation like this. So all of our members, I immediately put them on an at-home workout, whether it was like cans of soup or sandbags, or some people had equipment. I made sure that they were at least remembered that it's, they can move at home. They don't need a gym necessarily, for the time being, kind of a thing. But within since we opened up the last month or more, DeWitt location was our grand opening, which was kind of interesting itself. But we've gotten about 70% of our members back. I think we were already a clean facility. We were already, if you look at our Google reviews, cleanliness is something that I take very seriously. So it wasn't that huge of a change for me. But just making everyone feel safe and making sure that people feel comfortable coming back into the gym has been number one priority. Well,
getting people back in the gym, you have said that the road to success is holding people accountable and keeping them focused. And what is your methodology behind that? And how do you get someone started, whether they're 24 years old or 54 years old?
Yeah, so I'm not like a typical sets and reps and workout kind of guy. A lot of it's just getting on the level with the individual. I say a lot of times the gym's like a doctor's office for most people. Most people don't love coming to the gym at first, right? But I like to set up people to succeed. So whether it's just like little successes or kind of being there as hey, good job today. Even if you're giving it 60% all the time, at least you're coming, you're walking in the door, you're making yourself a better version of yourself. And the nice thing is, just like anything else, whether it's playing the guitar, working out, learning how to cook, once you start getting better and people start noticing, then it's just like snowball effect. They start eating better and everything else. And then, I think we've changed a lot of lives.
And when you talk about changing lives, is it a combination of the physical fitness, the nutrition, the mental state, all of those things? Is that what you talk to your clients about?
So I talk to them on a smaller basis at first. I'm more of a goal setting individual. Like, a lot of people come in my office, maybe they're a typical weight loss client and they say they want to lose 80 pounds and they want to have a grocery list, know how many times they need to work out, need to know if they need to get an Apple Watch, what clothes they should wear. I mean, I'm like, let's slow down here. Like, let's just prove to me that you can walk in the door and you're able to kind of keep coming back more than just like 2 weeks. So the nice thing is I kind of basically, I'm not talking diet, nutrition, anything with you until, we kind of get that snowball rolling. So usually it happens. It's funny, like people start working out for a month or two. They start feeling better. They start looking better. People start noticing them. Then they get more confident. Then naturally, when they make food choices, they're making better food choices because they know that what they're putting in their body is really affecting everything else.
Well, and I think a lot of the time it is that if you are just consistent and you keep doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, all of a sudden it comes off. I mean, there isn't any like magic day bullet, anything that goes along with that. It is just, you wake up one day and you look in the mirror and you think to yourself, I don't look exactly like I did 2 months ago. And that transformation, people, I think is really probably very enlightening.
Yeah, the problem is a lot of people just see with social media or whatever, like a snapshot of people working out, right? Like I probably have one great workout once a week, but I show up, whether I'm just moving, like our bodies are meant to move. So whether we move and just do a little something, even if we give a little bit of effort, or do we just know like, what, I'm not feeling it today, but I'm still going to go in and do something. So once you stay consistent, your body adapts very well to that. And then it's the people that you see the drastic changes. It's not like they've done anything crazy. They've just come to the gym, give halfway decent effort, start eating better, then naturally start sleeping better, drinking better, more water, and then it kind of just blossoms from there.
I read an article yesterday in the paper about the teaching community right now, and you're finding a lot of teachers who have been so mobile in years past in the classroom and walking around and getting their steps in and sitting in front of that computer has not only been hard on them physically, but mentally as well. And so what would your advice be to people now that have really become so stationary? And it's not just teachers. I mean, everybody who's now having to sit behind a computer.
Yeah, and I 100% don't blame them. I mean, during this, I have a home gym. I have a lot of equipment. At this point, I had 2 gyms, and I barely went to any of them. My movement and my exercise kind of fell down the last 6 months. So I get where people were at, but I think what you're seeing is, originally, it's going to be kind of slower, but I think there's a very large pent-up demand because before, within the last, say, 10 years that I've been doing this, every year people want to start being more accountable for their health and fitness. They realize that they can be the change that makes them better. And I think every year it's gotten stronger and stronger. And now with COVID and everything that's happened, I think people realize that working out and eating better will help their immune system. So, I mean, God forbid something like this were to happen again, people are like, I have a better defense mechanism as well. Going forward.
You've got 2 locations now, 10 trainers?
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yes.
10? Yeah, wow. What does that growth look like? I mean, you probably 5 years ago, you couldn't really see this.
No.
Here you are now. Start with 1. Now you've got 2 locations. What does the next 5 years look like for you?
Yeah, I like to stay optimistic, but, ready to evolve. I've kind of just put my head down and just try to work harder than anybody kind of a thing. So when we started the first location, I was the only trainer. And then I think we've set up a very cool environment. I think we have a great group of people, and I think it's very attractive to a lot of trainers, whether young trainers or trainers maybe from other facilities that just want a different facility to train at. And if you had told me 3 years ago I'd have 2 of these in 2.5 years, I would have been obviously pretty shocked. But I would love to kind of create a bigger market in this area, whether it's different cities, around here. I do have other friends all over the state that have kind of poked at me about maybe wanting to kind of buy into this model. I just want to make sure that Lansing and DeWitt can sustain, obviously, what just happened. They can grow on their own, and then, we can recreate it.
Well, I think life as an entrepreneur for you, and hats off to Justin Grinnell for the opportunity to mentor you, and for you then to jump out and become an entrepreneur, and to have those kind of relationships with Bill and Adam, and be able to see this dream of yours kind of come true. And I'm not so sure that it was a dream at one point. All of a sudden, it just evolved that you see yourself doing bigger things and being better and taking that talent that you have and sharing it with more people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even with like a lot of those guys and a lot of things I've always done, we don't do a lot of advertising. We don't do a lot of marketing. I'm very grassroots. It's kind of like I want to be the gym that you hear about from somebody else. Every single member is my best salesperson. The reviews mean the world to me. So when people are like, hey, you look great. Where are you going? They're like, oh, I'll go to this place, M43 Fitness. So it's kind of like, what, where? And then they start looking it up. And then I think that we've just been like, I kind of like to say I work in the dark kind of a thing, but I think people are starting to really realize our presence in this area.
Well, you know what? You should be very proud of that. And you have transformed people's lives in this community, people that I know, and, that have had an opportunity to, really talk about you and that you're the real deal and that you care about them. Talk about that transformation with some of them so the listeners know really the possibilities.
Yeah, so I've had the individual that you and I are talking about, for example, he came to me and was like, I've never joined a gym. I don't like working out. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to get bulky. And I don't really like lifting weights. And I was like, okay, here's going to be the big test of time for me kind of a thing. But I like to basically show people how exercising is simple. I don't overcomplicate it. Everyone's life is obviously more stressful by the year outside of the gym. If the gym becomes a stressor, you're no longer going to come. The nice thing is I like to be that safe haven for people where they can kind of come in, they can take off their business owner hat or take off their mom hat for a little bit and kind of let loose. We have a great community inside and people kind of like motivate one another in there, kind of like just from the environment, like without me having to do much. So when they end up obviously losing weight and they start coming more. And then I start they start buying M43 Fitness gear or, new Lululemon stuff. And then, they start eating better. And the nice thing is once that weight is off and they just build a better lifestyle. So this isn't like, your biggest loser kind of challenge. I mean, you're in this for the long haul. So I would rather have somebody have a slow progression of weight loss and just, sometimes people are like, oh, I gained 10 pounds. I'm like, well, you're lifting weights now. I mean, there's muscle that's also on there as well. And they're like, does your pants feel better? They're like, well, yeah, my pants are falling off. I'm like, well, there you go. Like, I don't even have a scale in either of my locations. So, which is pretty shocking for a gym. But I was like, if you look better and feel better, that's all that matters, and just kind of keep showing up every day.
Do you do anything with kids as we watch and we talk about the statistics with child obesity? Is there an opportunity for you to bring them into your gym too, or to talk to parents about kids? And maybe a M43 Kids app at some point might be kind of a cool thing.
Yes, we've already kind of started to sneak into some high schools with some of the app talk and whatnot. And, whether it's, volleyball clubs or some other stuff, we've done that. We train a lot of high school athletes. When potentially sports weren't going to happen, I think they needed another outlet. And a lot of them that were very motivated were like, I need to kind of direct my energy somewhere else. When a lot of people talk about, there's this preconceived notion of like, well, I have this, my son is like, or my daughter is like 10 and they probably shouldn't come to the gym. I'm like, oh, you can come to the gym and move. Like there's other stuff that you can do here. It's like, I'm not trying to make your 10-year-old a bodybuilder. A lot of it's just teaching that confidence, like whether they go to practice, they're like, hey, I've done this ladder drill before, I know how to do this stuff. And it's just building that relationship and that emotional connection to fitness early on that I think is just going to, once again, be in there for the long haul. So I think it's just having kids be comfortable in the gym early is very key.
Don't you think also that, keeping away from processed foods and those kind of things too are important? And, you read a lot of articles about the fact that, a lot of kids will mimic what their parents do.
Absolutely.
And so that, we have, as parents, an obligation to, one, not only to, educate them on their academics and being in the classroom, but lifestyle and opportunities to continue to move, just like you said, and to eat well.
Yeah, when I first started training, I was obviously naive. I was living by myself in an apartment. I had time. I didn't have kids. I didn't really have any other obligations. Now I have a 20-month son, and my wife is currently pregnant. I have 2 gyms. We just built a house. I mean, there's a lot that's happened in the last 2 years. So
you should run for office.
Like, yeah.
Throw that in there.
And then sometimes I'm like, oh, it's been on the table. Some people are like, so when people are like, I don't have time, or I'm just eating mac and cheese with my kids, I always look at them like, come on. But now I see that I'm in their shoes, so it's obviously possible. So everything is just becoming prepared and just really making that step. Like there's a lot of time in your day that you just do something that's maybe not productive. So go grocery shopping, start meal prepping, fill big water bottles. Like everyone always tries to tell me at first why they can't do something. I'm like, how about you tell me how you can and you will do something? So, yeah, it's always an interesting dynamic.
It's a mindset. How would people connect with you, Scott?
Yeah, so our website is M43Fitness.com. If you kind of click the schedule a tour, it goes right to the business email, which I'm the one that kind of looks over that one as well. My personal email is Scott at M43Fitness.com. Same thing, Facebook, Instagram, wherever it might be. I kind of have my hand on all of them, and then I kind of bring you in for a tour and sit down and we just talk for a little bit.
You know, I have so enjoyed this. You are going to be so successful. I just know it. I have talked to a lot of people out in the community who have learned from you and have transformed their lives. So come back and talk to me again at some point in time.
Yeah,
okay?
I love what I do. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I want to thank my guest, Scott Abramouski, owner of M43 Fitness. I also want to thank my supporting sponsors, Marketing Resource Group, White Law, Dowding Industries, Governmental Consultant Services, AF Group, AT&T, and the Loomis Law Firm. You can listen to all of my podcasts at connectwithkb.com. Until we connect again, go live your best life. I'm your host, Kristin Beltzer.